With the latest Half-Sword updates, we have gotten so many new combat mechanic changes, and especially for unarmored combat, which is why I had to make this video. It's actually mind-blowing just how many new techniques we can use in Half-Sword, including wrestling, judo, and jujitsu techniques, which were just not possible previously. And if they were, the techniques were very limited, or didn't work consistently, but things are very, very different now, to the point where if they ever add multiplayer, there are going to be legitimate MMA fights. And this is usually due to the new ragdoll system and the ability to actually snap your opponent's limbs by using joint locks, which was actually just added today. But let's get on to the rest of the changes. There are rocks literally everywhere scattered around that you can just pick up and throw. These are extremely useful to knock out enemies out before you have to deal with them fist to fist, or if there's multiple opponents, you can down one without having to get up close and personal while you're outnumbered. They do quite a bit of damage, and they're quite easy to throw, honestly. I think throwing weapons in general has become a lot easier as well, so things just are looking great in that department. I just love being able to chuck rocks at my opponents before we even start fighting. Now onto striking. Kicks seem to be more versatile now. We can effectively kick on the ground. Before that wasn't possible, so now we can kick our opponents away while on the ground, and this also opens up some other doors to new techniques, which we'll talk about in the grappling section of the video. Kicks and punches do a lot more damage, allowing you to knock your opponent out extremely quickly, which I can't say is a good or a bad thing, but it definitely makes the fights seem a little bit too easy for my taste. Of course, you could always just change how much damage is being dealt in the settings, so this isn't really a big deal. I also definitely noticed a change in punching mechanics, like it's now more possible to throw uppercuts, and if we lean to the left or the right, we can actually preload our uppercuts. Overhand punches are also more of a thing now, as your character can throw downward arcing hooks, and these work really great in combinations with uppercuts because they're both punches thrown by moving your mouse up and down. We also have more character movement speed, and this means that we can slip punches much more effectively and counter. I honestly think we move a little bit too fast now, and we definitely jump really high, but this definitely makes it more possible to do flying kicks and punches, so it's pretty neat in that regard. And besides striking, grappling has become much more effective and consistent to perform in Half-Sword thanks to a couple of changes. You're going to notice that your grip strength is a lot stronger now, and this will let you keep your hold of your opponent for a longer period, which will in turn allow you to perform more grappling techniques. Characters feel much more lighter as well, making it easier to take them down to the ground or throw them. And one might say they're even too light, since you can throw them around like a ragdoll or kick them around on the ground almost effortlessly. And this is due to the reworked ragdoll structure that they've implemented. Of course, once somebody's on the ground, I think they should be much harder to move because moving dead weight is extremely difficult. Going in for a double or single leg is very viable now. If you do get a strong grip on one of your opponent's legs, it's almost a guaranteed takedown. And to use this technique in Half-Sword, all you need to do is look at the ground, then press grab with both your hands at the same time as we take a lunge forward. And this will cause your character to get much lower to the ground than normal, and you should be able to duck right under your opponent's punches. Just make sure you don't hit your head. Another change is that they've added an actual neck hold on characters. And besides this allowing you to just choke people, you can grab your opponent's neck and gain more control over them while you're standing up, which would allow you to snap them down to the ground, and this is also another wrestling technique. Of course, it looks very different in real life, but in Half-Sword, all you need to do is get a hold of their neck and they're going to go down very easily. There's also other ways to throw your opponents. Because they're much lighter, this allows us to get under them and lift them up and utilize foot sweeps or other judo throws. Of course, to be able to use the foot sweeps, we have to off-balance our opponents first, and this requires us to lift them up, and the easiest way to do this is to get a grip on the body or neck. But even if we have a hold of only one of their arms, we can easily get our shoulder under theirs, and this will let us lift them, and from there, they're simply finished. One of my favorite setups is to catch their hand, then grab their elbow on the outside, which will allow us to keep moving away from their free hand, and here we can just simply crouch down, lift them up, and then kick to sweep them. But definitely the easiest and most risk-free way of getting somebody to the ground is definitely the neck grab. It's very strong, and it kind of disables your opponent's movements. And once your opponent is on the ground, having that neck hold also gives you the option of choking them out instead of just ground and pound until they die. Along with that, characters now move much differently while on the ground, which has completely changed how fights end up once somebody falls or gets taken down. You're no longer just done for if you end up falling. There's there's actually a lot of things that you can do to get back into the fight if you've fallen to the ground. The two major things that we can do on the ground now that we couldn't previously is to rotate as well as roll over. To rotate, all one needs to do is press A or D while looking left or right and kicking. And to roll over, just simply reach across your body with one of your arms and then kick once. But just be careful when you kick as you're trying to turn over. If you're not leaning over far enough, as you kick, you might break your leg. And this will allow us to keep our legs in between us and our opponents while we're on the ground. That way we can't get hit in the head or somewhere vital. That's right, we can use our guard just like in a real jiu-jitsu to help us control our opponents. Some other actions that we can do now include bridging our hips, rolling onto our elbows, and posting, and even being able to get up on our hands and knees, which is kind of insane, but you really can't move much in this position since your hands don't have any friction when it comes to the ground, and if you try to move your arms, you just end up punching the ground. Because of all this new range of motion, we're able to use real jiu-jitsu techniques like sweeping your opponent, and I'm sure you can imagine just how much of a game changer being able to do that is while being stuck on the ground. Here's an example where I'm being stupid and I get clocked in the head, which staggers me and I end up falling down, from which my opponent pursues me trying to punch me in the head, but since my hand is near his foot, I simply grab it and pull it across my body, effectively sweeping him. From there, I get up and simply punch him until I win the fight. Okay, before today, there was only two ways to finish your opponent on the ground, that being punching them until they give up, or choking them. But we now have a third option, which we talked about in the beginning of the video, and that is being able to break our opponent's limbs. In the video here, you actually see me going for a jiu-jitsu move called the Americana, or at least the half-sword version of it, which is to force your opponent's arm behind their heads until their shoulder dislocates or something snaps. But something interesting is that even if you break one of your opponent's limbs, they still won't give up. Instead, they just get up if they can and start walking around aimlessly. Of course, all while screaming for bloody murder. But from there, it's extremely easy to deal with them since they're no longer in the fight. You can simply kick them out of bounds or break all of their limbs or whatever. Of course, the downside to being able to break limbs is that you can break your own arms. Notice how my character should have done a perfect break fall right there to avoid breaking his arm instead of posting while he was getting thrown. You can even break your arms by wildly throwing punches or lifting up objects that are super heavy. So you definitely want to be careful not to end up looking like the wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man. That's definitely possible. So as you can see, there are a ton of new ways to fight in Half Sword, many new cool techniques and mechanic changes. I hope you guys are having just as much fun as I am right now in Half Sword. Things are just looking absolutely amazing. And in the most recent update, they even added the ability to choose what weapon your opponent uses in the free play mode, which is the most amazing thing, and it's what I've been wanting forever. So honestly, I don't know what to say other than thank you so much, devs. This is incredible. There's going to be so much more amazing content to come because of this change alone.